Hi, it's 1T, and in this video I will be doing a review of whole numbers with an emphasis on place value and how we say whole numbers and also rounding whole numbers. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, we should mention the natural numbers. When you first learn numbers, like when a small child learns numbers, you start with the natural numbers, 1, 2, 3, and so on. The only difference between those and the whole numbers is the number 0. All right, and I should mention some special numbers that we run into. We have the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. The odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. If you ever see EOO, that's every other odd. All right, so let's go ahead and I just want to mention in our system of numbers, we use 10 digits to represent numbers, the digits 0 through 9. And so that's why we have what's called a base 10 system or a decimal system. So let's look at a number such as 2015, which is in what we call standard form. So each digit in 2015 has a place value. So the 5 is in the ones place, so that 5 represents 5 ones. The 1 is in the tens place, so we have 1 10. Notice we have 0 hundreds. The 0 is in the hundreds place. And we have 2 thousands because the 2 is in the thousands place. So it's important that you know your place values. I want to mention that you can write the number 2015 or any other whole number in what we call expanded form. So basically, we said the 2, because of its place, is worth 2,000. Notice there's no hundreds because we have 0 in the hundreds place. We have 1 10 and then 5. And so we can write a number in what we call expanded form, which kind of emphasizes the value of each place. All right, so consider the number here. So first of all, I'd ask you, do you know how to say that number? Well, let's talk about what we call the periods of a whole number. So notice on the very right, we have 0, 1, and 2. The 3 digits here are the ones period. So we have 12 ones, basically. And then we have the thousands period. So we have in this number 789 thousands. And next, after the thousands period, we have the millions period. So we have 456 millions, or million. And finally, we have the billions period. Notice here we have 123 billion. Now, if we went one more period, we sometimes hear about trillion. That's our next period. So let's go ahead and read this number from left to right. Notice, again, we start with the billion, so it's 123 billion, and then we pause for the comma, 456,789,012. Notice we do not use the word and when we say whole numbers. Just a reminder. Let's move on to the next slide. So I want you to say or write each of the following numbers. So you should go ahead and say it to yourself, and then I'll tell you the answer. So we would read this 408. By the way, you won't see any comma in my descriptions unless there's a period change. All right, let's move on to number 2. So go ahead and read that number to yourself. All right, that's 7,054. Notice when we have a number in the tens with a 1, we use a hyphen or a dash. Let's go on to the next number. So go ahead and read that one to yourself. All right, so you should have said 2,653,000, and that's all we say because there are no ones. Let's go on to number 4. Things are getting harder. See if you can do that one. All right, so it might help to make sure we got our ones, we got our thousands, we got our millions. We're going to start with the billions. So it's 108 billion, comma, 272 million, comma, 8,000, comma, 65. So 108 billion, 272 million, 8,065. All right, let's try one more of these. Oh wait, no, I guess there's two more. So go ahead and do that one. Think about how you would say that. All right, so you should have said 251,201,001. All right. And actually, we're going to go in reverse here. So write each number in standard form. So the first one's 1,407. Of course, that would be 1, 407. And on number 2, you've got 8,700,243,000. So go ahead and write that number down. And it's going to look like that. If I'm going too fast, I would encourage you to stop the video in between. All right, so let's go ahead to number 3, 11,060,000. Now notice here, there are no thousands, but you've got to put those zeros in there or your answer is going to be wrong, because the 11 needs to be in the millions period. All right, next number, I want you to write 1 trillion. All right, and so 1 trillion, you should have 12 zeros. It's a big, big number. All right, let's talk about how we round whole numbers. So I'm just going to do it with you. And so first of all, we're going to round to the nearest 10. So on 41, the tens place is where the 4 is. And so if I want to round to the nearest 10, basically what I'm really doing is I'm counting by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. So I'm really saying, is this number closer to 40 or 50? Now, the rule is we look at the number to the right, and if it's 5 or larger, we're going to round the 4 up to 5. In this case, it's less than 5, so we're going to keep the 4, and so our answer here would be 40. On number B, our tens place, we have the 2. Now, the 7 is 5 or bigger, and so we're going to round the 2 up. This will become 30. So again, what we're really saying is this number is closer to 30 than 20 when we're counting by tens. 95, if we round to the nearest 10, well, we're going to have to round the 9 up. After 9, you get 10. And so what we're really going to have here is 100. If you're counting by tens, you would have 80, 90, 100, 110, and so on. And so you can see that 95 is right in the middle, and we round that up to the next 10, which would be 100. So basically all we're doing is adding 1 to the 9, and we get a 10, and then the 0 after. All right, so let's round this last number to the nearest 10. So the 7 there is going to stay the same since the 4 is less than 5. So this will be 2,370. All right, let's go on to the next problem. So here we're going to round to the nearest 100. So I would encourage you to try these and then turn the video back on. All right, let's see how you did. So the hundreds place, that's where the 4 is. And the next number is a 5, so we're going to round up. So this will be 500. Here we're also going to round up. So this 7 becomes an 8, so we're rounding to 800. Let's see, the hundreds place in C is where the 2 is. Looks like we're rounding everything up here, so it'd be 24,300 because we have a 5 there. And finally, let's see, 954. We're going to round that 9. I guess everything's going up on this one here. So because of the 5, we're going to round up. So again, really, we're going to go to 10. So this will be 1000. So again, think about it this way. If you're counting by hundreds, you'd have 800, 900, and then you'd have 1,000. When we round to the nearest 100 here, we're saying to ourselves, okay, are we closer to 900 or are we closer to 1,000? And if we're in the middle, we round up. All right, so let's move on to the next set of problems. We're going to round to the nearest 1,000. So again, go ahead and try these. All right, let's see how you did. So here we're going to round to, the 7's going to either stay the same or it's going to change. We look to the number to the right. It's less than 5, so we're going to keep our 7 just like it is. So we'll use 7,000 here. Now on part B, we don't have 1,000, so I'm going to go ahead and put a 0 in here. So what we're going to look at the number to the right. Well, this is the place for rounding, and we're looking at the number to the right. And it's less than 5, and so that 0 is not going to change, so it's actually going to be 0. Think about this. If you're counting by thousands, you would start at 0, and then you'd go 1,000, 2,000, and so on. This number is closer to 0 than 1,000, so for rounding to the nearest 1,000, we would actually round this to 0. All right, on letter C, we're going to round to the nearest 1,000. Notice because of the 2, we're going to keep that 9, so it'll be 369,000. So the 9 doesn't change. And last one, we're rounding to the nearest 1,000. This time we're going to round up because of that 7. So it'll be 19,000. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Round to the nearest 10,000. So now we're going to look at the 10,000s place. So here the 7 is going to cause us to round that up to 30,000. And let's see here, we have the 4, and again, well, this time we're not moving it up. We're going to keep it as a 4, so it'll be 40,000. So if we're counting by 10,000s, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, you can see this number is closer to 40,000 than it is 50,000. That's why we are rounding basically down. All right, so here we're going to, let's see, our 10,000s place. We have the 6. The next number is less than 5, so we're going to keep the 6 and then all zeros. So this rounds to 1,060,000. And then here we're going to want to round that 3 up because we're 5 or larger. So this rounds to 40,000. All right, we're going to step it up and get some bigger numbers now. So we're going to round on A to the nearest million and on B to the nearest billion. So go ahead and do that. All right, let's see how you did. So the nearest million, that would be, the 8 is in the millions place, and we're going to round that up because of the 6. So it'll be 329, and then the rest that follows is all zeros. And so that's what we get when we round to the nearest million. It's 329 million. And we do this a lot with really big numbers. We don't really care. It's the numbers on, I should say, in the highest place values that we really care about the most. I mean, what does this 15 really do to a number that's so big? I mean, it's inconsequential, I'll just put it that way. It's not very meaningful. So we tend to round numbers like this. So to the nearest billion, all right, well, let's see. we've got the ones, we've got the thousands, we got the millions, and we've got the billions. And we're going to the nearest 100 billion. That's where the 2's at. So let me get rid of these lines. Whoops. Okay. So the 2 is in the 100 billions place. And because of that 5, we're going to round up. And so it's going to be 4, and then a 3, and then all zeros after that. All right. Let's see. Let's go on to, we have one more problem. Estimate the sum. So first of all, we're doing an estimate. And also sum, that just means we're adding numbers. So how would we estimate this? Well, there's really not just one answer. We could round each of these numbers to the nearest 10, or we can round them to the nearest 100. It really depends on the situation and how accurate you want to be, but we tend to estimate when we want to keep our arithmetic real simple. Maybe we're doing it by hand, or we're just wanting to do a real quick estimate. So I'm going to round each of these to the nearest 100. So this would be 100, and the second one would be 300, and the last one would be 400. So 4, 3, and 100 is going to be a total of 800. All right, and I think that's all I've got for you in this video. We're going to stop right there.